Hello, Victoria.
Hi.
It's nice to have you back here. How are you feeling this week?
Uh, this week I am stressed, particularly because I got a new job. So I'm trying to juggle having the job plus schoolwork and going to school.
Okay, so we picked up on this a little bit last week. We had set some goals, and have you started to develop any of those techniques we talked about?
Well, you told me to make a schedule, lay out a schedule so I could effectively use the time of the day and dedicate it to more homework or more time to myself. And I did write out the schedule, and it has helped. But some of it made me a little more stressed because Monday night, for instance, I was with my friend, but while I was with my friend, I kept thinking, oh, I need to do this, I need to do this, because I have like a lot of work to do in the week, and now with this job, I only have like a limited amount to complete it. So um, it went both ways. Like it did help because I was able to visualize what I wanted to get done when I wanted to get done, but I think I might have taken up too much time for myself.
I mean, in, is there really anything wrong with that as long as you get your work done?
Right, as long as I get my work done.
So it's alright to take time for yourself. Oh, but tell me, what is it that's precipitating the anxiety?
It's just me thinking about all the work I need to do in a big cluster. I think I'm having some trouble breaking it down because I have less hours in the day to complete the work.
Okay, so even though you've broken it down on paper, you're having trouble breaking it down in your mind?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so uh, let's explore that a little bit. What do you think will help you to break it down in your mind?
Um, I mean, maybe, I don't know, I'm not sure at the moment.
Okay, so, oh, let's take a step back again. Then, how, let's explore the anxiety, okay?
Okay.
Hey, what do you think will happen if, say, you can't break it down? Or if the, sorry, hey, where do you feel the anxiety is coming from? And not just like the overall of it, but the source of it.
I have actually thought about this many times where it could be coming from, and I believe it's from when I was little. I was never really good at school. I never really did that well. And I was always like being tested to see if I had a learning disability. So I just feel like I've been constantly, or I felt constantly judged from when I was younger to now. And I personally feel like um, not that I'm like used to not doing well, but that's like my fear is that I'm not gonna do well. I'm gonna like be kicked out of my program if I don't do well in some of my classes because um, there's not much leeway in grad school as there is when you're younger and like in high school, let's say. Like for example, if we fail a test in one of our classes, like we really only have two more to bring it up, the grade up. Whereas in high school, we had multiple chances. Like there were papers and projects and tests and quizzes. So I think I'm aware that I've never been that great at school, and I think I just carried that with me to where I am now.
Well, tell me, what does it mean to be great at school?
Well, to get good grades.
But
And to know, to like be able to know the knowledge and be able to utilize it.
okay, so which part of that do you feel you're not able to do?
Sometimes it's both, sometimes it's either or. It depends what class it's in.
So give me an example.
Okay, let me think. My CBT class, we have a lot of homework for that class, and it's like we have to read a book and answer questions. And I feel like when I'm reading the book, I completely understand it, and I'm like, oh, if I wanted to pursue this one day, like I would be able to do it because it seems pretty straightforward and interesting. But when we get to class, I feel like I am unable to formulate what I know in my head in class. Like, I feel like once I get there, I forget everything. And I'm not able to show that I know it. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense. So, oh, uh, what's happening in class that's creating this barrier for you?
What's happening? I think I'm not. I don't know. I think maybe the teaching style that is going on in the class. Like, I'm more of a visual learner. And in that class, we just get lectured at. So I feel like maybe if it was different, I would be able to pick up the skills better.
Okay,
That
so
could be a reason.
okay, so are you having difficulty with uh, being able to perform the skills or knowing the skills in this class?
I think more probably performing them because I think I know them more than I can perform them.
Okay, so let's explore that a little bit more. The performance piece, what's going through your mind when it comes time to perform the skills?
Okay, well, we usually split up into role play, and when I am the therapist, I just feel like I can't accurately perform the skill like as easily as when I read it or see it.
Okay, so oh, can you explain a little bit more to me, like, uh, not be a little bit more specific about the feelings and the thoughts that are going through your mind?
Okay, so when I'm in this situation, I feel like I can't do it. I'm like, oh, I'm going to be such a bad therapist. Oh, like, how am I going to do this? Or I just, like, kind of more freak out, like, oh, what do I say next? I don't know what to do. Like, it's kind of like a little freak out when I don't know how to, like, respond to my patient in the role play.
Okay, so why do you think you feel that way? I mean, you know that you have the knowledge, so where is that feeling coming from that you don't know how to do it?
I think part of it is that I am being judged by the other person in the role play, and I think I might be nervous that they will agree with my thoughts that I can't do it if I don't perform well.
I see. So, oh, what if you were to take the performance element out of it? What if that is what you are doing? How do you think it would be then?
What do you mean?
Well, you're concerned about being judged, but rather than and considering it as a role play, something you're being evaluated on, and play it at or engage the situation as yourself. Do you think that would help you?
It could, possibly.
Okay. Taking a step back again, you've mentioned before that you worry about being judged, and where do you think this fear of being judged is coming from?
It might be a mixture of like me not doing well in school. Technically you are being judged in school.
Mm-hmm.
When you take tests or you do a presentation, you are being judged. And I think because I haven't always done well and I have gotten some bad grades, that once again I have that thought in my head that I'm not going to do well. And I think it's also a mixture of that and self-doubt as well. Because I've never been out in this field, so I don't have like real life experience. So looking ahead to that also makes me nervous while I'm in the role play. Like if I can't do it in class in a comfortable setting, how am I going to do it in an actual setting?
I see. So, given all of that, how do you engage in the normal activities you do in which you are judged as well?
Like how do I do?
Well, if you are judged in other situations and you perform, you're obviously intelligent, you've made it into a graduate program, so your grades are good, so you've been coping in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
So how have you gotten there so far?
Well, that started in college, me really pushing myself to do well, because once again there are limitations to grades
Mm-hmm.
there, and I just realized that it is important for me to do well if I wanted to eventually. I didn't know what I was doing in the beginning point of college, but I was like, if I do go to grad school or if I do want a job right after college, like you need to have good grades. So I really like pushed myself.
Okay, but you must have felt this anxiety back then as well, so how did you overcome it?
I don't know if I did actually. I think I just kind of dealt with it because it was just a feeling that was just constant.
I see. In the past, we've talked about you feeling that the people that are judging you the most are in your family. Do you think that's also part of your current anxiety? That you need to do well because they're judging you as well?
I don't know. I don't know if they're judging me in that aspect, but I do hold their their opinions, I guess, and their values very highly. Like when I tell them I did well in something, I tell them the grade, they're like very excited, and if I don't do that well, they're like, well, why? Or like, why didn't you study enough? Like, they're very like questioning when I didn't do well, and I obviously don't like that. So I try to do well. I also feel like guilty when I don't do well. I feel guilty for myself, like telling them, because I don't want them to think that I can't do it.
I see. So, what I'm hearing, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that your or you like it when your family gives you praise, but you're also self-conscious that anything you don't do great in, they will judge you harshly for.
Mhm.
Okay, so oh, and so an overall part of your anxiety comes from being judged by your family.
I'd say so. Definitely in the school portion of
See,
life.
so oh, what about your own part? I mean, you do have uh, the self-confidence in yourself to know that you will do well.
Sometimes, like sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not.
Oh, tell me about the times it's there.
Um, well, I guess I mean, I don't know. When I'm studying for something, let's say, I don't know if this is a correct example, but when I'm studying for something and thoughts start to go off in my head, like, oh, I'm going to fail, or I'm never going to remember this, or, whoever's going to do better than me, um, I'll like talk back to myself and be like, well, it's just a test. It doesn't mean that you're stupid. It's not the end of the world if you don't do well. So I kind of like talk back and forth to myself, which is weird, probably.
It's not. It's somewhat advanced skill. It's in psychology it's referred to as self-talk, and it's actually one of the recommended techniques to help fight anxiety and depression.
hmm So I actually have picked that skill up from school and have been using it whenever those thoughts come in my head.
Okay, and what happens when you fail to engage in this?
I just my anxiety just increases.
Okay, so tell me the process of what happens when you're starting to get stressed out and you try to use this technique.
Well, if it doesn't work, I'll start to become like very overwhelmed, and then I'll also have feelings of not wanting to do it at all. Um, I'll get more lazy sometimes if it doesn't work, because I'm like, well, if I'm not gonna do well, then
Okay, but I'm sorry if it wasn't clear. Could you explain to me the thought process which leads you to the self-talk to not work?
like when it doesn't work, what
Yes.
thoughts go through my head?
Yes, I mean, how is it that obviously it works some of the time,
Mm-hmm.
so what is the process of it not working for you?
Like what happens to me?
What's going through your head that makes the self-talk invalid?
Well, I guess it's more overpowering. Um, I'll like I'll believe it if I tell myself I can't do it or I won't remember it, I'll agree with that.
Okay.
And then so it's just a standstill from there.
I'd like to go back to that day you almost said. What were you about to What were you about to say?
No, I mean they. Well, I said they because it's like technically the two voices.
Okay.
It's my own voice, but it's
Yes.
two voices, like one positive, one negative. So that's why I said they.
Okay, so what is it that makes the negative thoughts more overwhelming at times?
Just when I believe the negativity, I believe it to be true and for it to be true in the future.
But in the situations where you do believe it, what is the force that's making it more believable at that time? Is it your environment or your family or something else going on?
Well, I think it's just my past, like my past school, like my past schooling, how I didn't do well. So I think that is why I believe it, because it's like a pattern almost. So it's easy for me to like.
So, in the next time you run across this situation, this happens, rather than examining the entirety of your past, do you think you could examine the more immediate history where you've been doing very well? Well, you've done well in college, you're doing well so far in the program, and use that as your reference rather than the entire length of the history.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that would be helpful?
Yeah, because looking in the past is only what isn't going to do anything for me, I think. Because I've done better from college to now than high school down to the lower grades. And I think that only hurts when I compare it to back then.
Yes, and you're a different person, you have more experience, and you're doing very well, so keep that in mind. Thank you. So, tell me what's going through your mind right now.
I'm just agreeing with you. I think that would actually really help if I began to do that when I have stressful or anxious feelings about it.
Okay, so we're almost out of time for today. Hey, before we end, I wanted to check back in about the schedule you're building.
Mm-hmm.
Have you finished the schedule? Are you having any problems with it?
No, I finished it.
Okay. Hey, so we'll touch base again next week. Please let me know how the job goes and if there are any issues with that or your schooling. And if you need to get in touch with me before that, you can always call me up and we can schedule something.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll see you next week. Okay.
Thank you.